a public transportation system with high capacity is an absolute necessity in a world capital. New York, Shanghai, Paris. It's absolutely one of the factors that makes those cities succeed. But in 1870, most people in cities lived at very, very high density. High density meant that they didn't have much room and they were overcrowded and they were exposed to disease and life was short.
There was a need for people to get from place to place, from home to work, from work to the store, from the store back to home, that kind of thing.
So we first had horse-drawn public transit vehicles introduced in the 1830s or 40s.
And with horsepower comes horse manure. And so now you had this huge pollution problem. The streets were a hellscape.
It became very difficult to get everyone around just by horses and horse-drawn carriages because the horses would generate so much manure. It was hard to solve the mass transportation problem.
It was pretty clear to the politicians at the time that if we're going to keep growing, we're going to have to move to some sort of rapid transit. It started with elevated railways here in New York, full-size coal-powered locomotives. For that, we were using steam power. We were burning coal inside of a locomotive engine, making steam, but the steam-powered elevated railroads had drawbacks. You had smoke bellowing from these elevated railway cars, and it was noisy. It became clear that a new solution was needed, and then the technology evolved enough to run a subway car with electricity, still fossil fuel powered, but not directly on the thing you're riding. It's drawing electricity from the power grid.
The subway system really transformed the city because it meant millions of people could move around.
The passengers of the first subway system were still using coal power, but it was coal power that was generated at a central power plant and moved the electricity via transmission lines. Transition to electrification started to make it feel like you're using energy services more rather than you're burning something for power. The disadvantages of that is now folks got a little bit disconnected for where their energy was coming from. And so that lasts even to this day. The challenge is we're still moving all these people on kind of 1910s and 1930s technology. What's needed now is a new reinvestment in the way that we do rapid transit. There's just not enough room on the road to move 5.5 million people around the city of New York every day, unless it's underground and moving at high speed.
We're moving so swiftly toward cleaner sources of the production of electricity. If we succeed in producing electricity from greener sources, then the transportation system can benefit by that and be cleaner too.